Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for undervalued investment opportunities. I'm looking for large market supply-demand deficits out in the future. And I'm reading this article here, and those deficits I think are going to be so large that it may spur other investment opportunities during the same time frame. So copper is used in renewable energy, it's used in putting up infrastructure for the electrical power grid. It's in electric vehicles. Basically, we want to use the living heck out of copper in the future. I'm looking at this article here. It'll lose me. It says copper supply crunch earlier than predicted experts. This was a article that was written in 2018. It says copper demand will surpass supply earlier than expected, with the first clear signs coming as early as next year. Experts attending the 17th World Copper Conference held in Santiago, Chile. We come down here, we anticipate global market supply and demand will keep close to balance in 2019, in 2020, noting that after that, the deficit will become increasingly evident. And we've seen this huge deficit. That's why copper prices are going vertical. Everyone's starting to see it and say, oh my God, we have a problem. Now, how big is this problem? Check this out. This is without projects, supply gap will exceed 15 million tons by 2035. So 2035, I mean, if you look here, that's about 12 million tons, something like that. And the demand is going to go over 25 million tons. That means we need to double our production output in its entirety in 2035. And these are without project, supply gap will exceed 15 million tons. That's more than what we are going to be producing in 2035, because 15 is right here. We have to over double what we are going to produce in 2035, our estimates. This is what's weird. All right, I don't think we have enough. I don't think the copper's out there. Like I don't know if we can just double the entire world's production from where we are today. I mean, right there is 20. They want to go to 27, and we're going to drop down to 13. To double 13 from these higher grade, very gigantic mines, I don't know where they're going to get it. I don't know where they're going to get it. Now, when you look at this, you could say, well, let's invest in copper. And that's what I've done. I'm picking up investments in copper. I'm getting royalty companies. I'm getting some of these other large diversified mining companies that produce a lot of copper and other minerals. I'm in those areas. I'm in those investments. I'm in BHP. I'm in Freeport or Glencoe. Freeport would be another good one. I'm in Grupo Mexico, which is, I think, Southern Copper. First Quantum, Rio Tinto, Antofagasta. They're all good. So there's an opportunity there. Now, another way that you want to look at this is it's like, okay, great. We have copper. Copper's going to go way higher. Everyone's going to want to pile into copper. We've got all these infrastructure programs. We have all these electric vehicles that we want to build, and the copper literally doesn't exist. It does not exist in the quantities that everybody wants to use it. So those projects are not going to be there. We can't do all of them. We're going to have to pick and choose what gets the copper and what doesn't get the copper, because we aren't going to mine that much, I think, with the supply gap that large. I just don't think we're going to hit all the demand. If that's the case, that means that we're not going to have all the electric vehicles that we want. We're not going to have all the renewable power that we want. And things may have to be looked at from a different paradigm, from a different perspective. That paradigm is what I want to do. And what you guys should be looking at from that paradigm shift is, if we don't have enough copper, what gets consumed next? So it's not necessarily from an alternative substitute perspective. What I'm saying is, if the copper isn't there and we can't put in all of these renewable projects, what are they going to do instead? Are we going to burn more oil because we can't build all the electric vehicles that we want? The infrastructure isn't in place to support the electric vehicle usage. The copper's not there to put in all these renewable energy sources and tie them all together and put them into the grid. Where is this money going to go? And from what I've seen in all the investments and all of the mutual funds and all this stuff, they are literally dumping oil and fossil fuels, and they're betting very heavily on this new renewable future. if the copper isn't there, we can't have that renewable future. So what do we do next? Like we literally, they can throw all the money they want at it and they're not going to get the copper they want. They're not going to get it. So what happens next? So we invest in copper. We know that's going higher. Where are they going to hit next? And I think oil is going to be, I think the money's not going into oil for investment, but I think oil is going to have a massive spike because everyone thinks that these electric vehicles are going to come online. And if that copper doesn't exist, I don't know how they're going to do it. And to cover our bases, so the way that I'm looking at this is we want to invest in copper. We want to have nickel for the batteries. So nickel and copper. I think if we can't get the copper we want, maybe hedge yourself with some platinum because platinum is the catalyst in hydrogen fuel cells. So if we say the copper's not there, we can't do as many electric vehicles in terms of the renewable infrastructure, the batteries, all that stuff. Maybe another source is hydrogen. Maybe. And maybe that's going to be affected too because you have electric vehicles that are running off hydrogen. We'll see. But I like platinum as well. It's not only cheap, it's used in fuel cells. So probably the best opportunity, if we can't go to the renewables, is going to be nuclear energy and oil and natural gas. So I have those in my portfolio as well. They are cheap, oil and natural gas, that is, and uranium. And if we don't have the copper to support all of these other renewables, we're going to have to go with something else. And I think that something else is the continuation of burning fossil fuels. So that's kind of, I wanted to share this with you. This gap is gigantic in copper. I don't know where they're going to get all this copper. I don't know how they're going to pull this out of their behind. But copper is a very good investment. And that's one of the areas that I would be putting some money into. And I like the diversified miners. You can see down here, those miners right there, I like all of them. They're all going to just kill it. They're going to crush it. So if you guys like this content, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what your opinions are. Put them in the comments section. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.